My name is Regulus Lightcaster, and I'm here with my host Feras. We wanted to talk about he wanted to talk about synchronicity, and then we also want to talk about emergence and how the qualities of a system can become more than their component parts. Uh, Today, Ferris wanted to talk about synchronicity. What is it about synchronicity that's on your mind, Ferris?
Yeah, synchronicity and emergence seem like a distinct topics or separate topics from the outside, but I believe they have many things in common. Okay, now when we say the when we mention the word synchronicity, okay, people associate this word with weird coincidences, right?
Yes.
Bizarre, strange, highly strange coincidences. Now, this is not a new topic. Uh, People even say, even the pronouns sensed in psychology, like Carl Jung, famous German psychologist or psychiatrist, okay, to be precise, okay.
Yes, yes.
He speak thoroughly or deeply about the subject. And I believe he started the whole modern, let's say, revolution regarding this topic. Now, I want to ask you something, Regulus. Tell me about one one coincidence that you can't forget that happened to you. That you always, when when you hear the word synchronicity, you remember this specific coincidence.
It's not necessarily one specific coincidence, but it's a series of coincidences. Like it's the I think about somebody specific, and then next thing I know, they're messaging me, or like that type of a thing, where like you have the almost the precognition of an event happening, and then it happens afterwards, right? Where you have the awareness of the image in your mind of what you think will happen, and then afterwards it does. I think that that's the most synchrofluous event that I could say that I've witnessed personally.
You know, at its core, the such at their core, these coincidences, I believe, are expression are expression of a relationship between meaning, okay, and numbers. Okay, I believe such coincidences are part of a larger picture. Okay, uh, I believe they have a kind of a paranormal aspect attached to them. Now, if you take it from mathematical perspective, okay, there is nothing such a coincidence. It is statistics. Okay, if you take this term and you throw it at a physicist, what he will say? He will say that coincidences are are expected in any normal statistical distribution. Okay, if you have a lot of people and there are a lot of events, so it's expected to find some weird coincidences here and there. So for them, it is part of the natural world. There's nothing paranormal about coincidences. However, okay, idealists and dualists think otherwise. They think that synchronicity has a deeper meaning. Okay, it is these weird coincidences are messages from somewhere. Okay, so you know, it's it's attached to psychism. Okay, synchronicity. Okay, this this subject. Okay, is so weird that many people try to overlook, try to ignore. It is not just you and me who have such weird coincidences. Many people have them. Many people encounter them on daily basis, but most of us try to ignore them. Why? Because these these bizarre coincidences remind us that there's something else here around us. I believe there is something there. Okay, I believe. Um, I don't want to say that. I try to distance myself from the notion that synchronicity is part of a psychic realm. I don't think this is true. Okay, because I don't believe in the psychic realm at all. Okay, I I am a physicalist, materialist. Okay, I am open about this, but I have this problem afoot of me, and I can't just be blind and pretend that these coincidences don't happen or they are meaningless. I believe they are expression of something far deeper in the nature of space and time, and I think they are connected to the emergence of things. You have you have a comment? You want to say something?
Yeah, yeah. So I think that there is the property of awareness that comes into mind specifically, where once you learn something, for example, if you buy a white Honda, you're going to see a bunch of white Hondas all over the place, whereas you wouldn't have seen it before. I think that this effect which would be seen as a synchronofluous event, could be considered a matter of once you learn something, you can then see that thing in the world, or once you like attach something to yourself, that thing becomes more important than other things. Like once we create an attachment to something, or we learn and have create the awareness of something, that thing can become present in our lives where once it was not. And I think that the whole attachment between people can be explained through electromagnetic like interactions with our environment. Like I know that seems kind of far-fetched, but in the sense that I don't think it's a psychic mind. Like I used to think about energetic states as a different place than physical material reality, but then when our previous conversations, you told me that electricity or energy is still a part of the physical realm. So, in a physical sense, I believe that as our body is radiating energy through, well, they've proved there's like the heart can like create like a electromagnetic force that extends outside of our body. I believe there may be some interaction between thoughts or like ideas as concepts inside the brain relating through the heart to that electromagnetic force, which can then interact with the electromagnetic force of the earth and then send that signal to whomever it was meant for, right? Like there is physical like channels and systems in place that these things can be explained by. We just don't have the ability to measure these systems yet in a way that is meaningful to what we're talking about. Like, and I think there's a lot of people who are aware that such things exist and have like maybe irrational notions of a physical system that is present and imminent in this way. But we try, because we as humans try to relate things through our level of understanding. If we don't understand things and how things function at the bottom level and then work our way up in layers of complexity, we can only describe things from what we understand from our own level of understanding. And that's usually very limited, especially with someone who hasn't spent a lot of time learning different academic topics or discussing things in general. Like,
We can find synchronistic synchronistic uh, effects in the digital world. I will give you an example. Okay, for example, when you go to Google and you type something about that you want to buy a new bike, for example. Okay, And suddenly you open Facebook and you find an ad for a bike. There is, you know, synchronization of some sort here, right?
I think that your
Now,
synchronization and synchronicity are different, though. The
they are synced together, but this is digital, okay, and this is the product of this is a human products.
yes,
Okay, we created the digital world. We created Google and we created Facebook and we created the internet. Okay, but do you uh, do you feel that there is maybe something similar to what's going on? Listen, I'm speaking here, or I'm referring here to the simulation hypothesis, because if the world is a simulation and digital, so maybe at the end of the day, synchronicity is just something like the thing that you see in the digital market. Okay, you think on something, and the universe gives you that because it is digital. So
see.
maybe synchronicity is indicating that there is. I don't want to say that there is a simulated universe here. I want to say that there is a computational universe.
I think that
Maybe it's not simulation.
in a sense that things function the way that they function, and you can measure those functions as being constant. That is, in a sense, the boundaries of the simulation. The things you can't change are the things that will always remain the same. The more of those that you can define as this exists, that's what makes it not a simulation. If you lived in a simulation, everything would be ultimately changeable permanently. And because we have laws of time where things are always going in one direction, because we have space that separates objects, because we have defining features of our universe that allow us to know it's real. That's how we know it's real. That's how we know it's not a simulation. If we lived in a simulation, we wouldn't have physical boundaries that keep us from being able to just imagine things immediately into the present. Right. And
So
can I
let me
finish though?
let me.
There's one other
Okay,
thing I
okay,
want to touch
continue.
on, and that's when you said that people think about things and create them. I think that there's a very specific process that these things that has to occur within. Whereas, like, if you are trying to think of something that you want, you have to destroy your personal attachments to wanting that thing, and then release the idea into the world, and then that's the process of what creates the thing. Is like you having the mental image, letting go of your attachment to getting that thing, and then the world gives it to you, because that way you're not actually looking for it. Like it comes to you instead, right? That's the idea of that whole process, where you're just taking the natural function of the way that energy works inside of this system that we exist within, and then applying the knowledge and awareness of that to give you the result you want. It's like modern magic, right? Like,
Modern magic. Well, um, for synchronicity to work and to be something meaningful, it requires a system in the background. Okay, so if we say that these weird or strange or highly strange coincidences are real, and they have some meaning, they don't happen just because they should happen. They happen for a reason. For a reason. Okay. Now, in this case, you should assume that there's a system in the background that let them happen, something that pushed them to happen, right?
so you mean like cause
Now,
and effect?
no, 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 no. I mean something like a system. Okay, like a system that that wants or desires these things to happen. That system wants you to see this and that. Wants to connect you with someone in strange circumstances. Okay, that thing is a system. So what is this system? Okay, if it exists. Now I know
I, I think that's a
idealists.
very human perspective, right? Like you've heard me say before, as humans, we're always trying to apply our awareness of ourself to how we relate to the world, and trying to say that if the system did exist, that it would have desires is a total human. Like, how do we know anything that it exists outside of us would even be capable of feeling desire? How do we know desire isn't just a side effect of our biological process? How do we know that it's the ability to want something to happen rather than just accepting everything as it is happening is not is the true like ideal system that would exist outside of ourselves, right? How can we try to say a system that exists that's not us has to be like us? How does that fit into reality?
Because yeah, because every system has a goal. Your brain's system has a goal. Okay, the for example, the solar system. You know, the arrangement of the planet of the celestial bodies of the or the planets. This is a system. Okay, it apparently it is a blind system. Okay, you know, the planets, you know, surround the sun. Okay, and orbit the sun. This system, okay, it's a blind, but it's a natural system. Okay, what is the goal of this system? Okay, the goal of the system is just to follow the physical laws, the gravity, especially gravity. Okay, this is why the planets orbit the sun. Okay, now in our case, why I told you this system is weird, and I believe it has a goal, because look at the meaning. Look at the meaning, because
Brother,
okay, coincidences have meaning.
you're putting human emotions and human goals and human desires onto a system that has no such purpose outside of its simple existence. Like, for example, the solar system traveling around the sun, orbiting the sun, that happens
Mm.
due to random chance of planets flying from the outer solar system into the sun's reach of gravity, and then somehow everything, like, over billions of years time, like, passing, the crazy orbits that these giant rocks had around this molten ball of plasma was so slowly steadied, right? It took a long time for that to happen, and it wasn't a goal. It was just, this is the natural byproduct of that happening, right? Like, every cause has an effect. So because that cause was a bunch of balls of rock coming at a sun and then catching its gravity and orbiting it, the effect of it was then creating a solar system around the sun. It happens, and these processes happen in the world without the any goal or desire. We're trying to look at it from the present. We're trying to put our purpose and our meaning onto things that didn't have purpose or meaning when they happened. Why would something like if we were there when it happened and we were looking at it happen, we could be like, oh wow, that's the reason this is happening, and say that it had meaning, but we didn't have a mind, or there weren't any minds then, right? So how could you try to say our mind has the reason for that, right?
Um, I know you are right. The solar system is physical system, and apparently it doesn't have a goal. Its main purpose is just to complete, let's say, the natural work, okay, which is orbiting the sun. I know this,
Okay.
but now in our case it's different. The system, the system, the background, okay, is associating meaning, okay, because these coincidences play play in the realm of meaning. Okay, these coincidences have meaningful value for you. This is why you are remember them. Why you are remembering them? Why? Because they have meaning. They affected you. They affected you internally. You felt that there's something weird here. But now here, we need to distinguish between synchronicity and deja vu. Deja vu is something different. Okay, synchronicity is that bizarre, meaningful coincidences that's so bizarre that they shouldn't happen, but they happen. Okay, for example, there is a story, very famous story, very famous synchronistic story about a girl who has who had a balloon in her hand, okay, and she just let the balloon just fly in the air, okay, and the balloon fly, and it arrived at the home of another girl who has her a similar name to her, to the owner of the
Yeah.
balloon, original balloon. Okay, something like this is so weird, okay, because in normal statistical distribution, okay, this is unlikely to happen, but it happened. Okay, it has the same name, I remember, or maybe the same birthday, or maybe the same, I don't know what else, okay, same age, maybe. I forget the exact story, but it's a very famous story, okay. Now, from pure mathematical perspective, these things are unlikely to happen, but they could happen because you have a lot of people, a lot of names, a lot of events and of physical events, so they should happen. But they have meaning to them. Okay, this is why I told you this system is different. It is physical system. I know this. I believe it's real. Okay, I don't think it is psychic. I don't think it's psychic. This is the difference. I don't think it's psychic. Yeah, I think it is real. I think it's a background. I think it associates meaning with events, and this produces synchronicity. Now, I want to touch on something very important here, something that people often miss, which is that synchronicity is also associated with the paranormal, especially UFOs. There are many cases of UFO sightings uh, happened in association with very set of bizarre coincidences. Okay, which indicates or which may indicate that the UFO phenomenon is related and somehow to synchronicity. This is so bizarre, and there are many documented cases of such nature. Okay, which has many implication, which has many implications when it comes to explaining the UFO phenomenon. We will speak about the UFO phenomenon in another podcast. But for now, I want just to mention this let's say this substantial fact about synchronicity. Okay. Now I want to speak about emergence. What you have to say about emergence, Regulus?
So I've just been doing a lot of thinking about my cosmology of the universe, and I had a really interesting conversation with ChatGPT the other day where I basically was asked it like if we started off with only one thing in the universe, a singularity, and that singularity imploded, which caused hydrogen molecules to form, and those hydrogen, and then so on and so forth. Would it not be that once a new, like, say we imagine that that first implosion started the chain of time, and then we can measure every like unit of time as a ripple in time, right? So this is just my model that I'm using to make it relatable. So every ripple that goes by, if a new interaction between energies or like between the matter inside of the universe, like say there was only hydrogen at first, so that like when the hydrogen matter, all molecules formed out of subatomic particles, that was the first ripple in like in time, right? Or how do I put this in a like the way that makes sense? And then the second ripple would be when hydrogen bonds formed and it made like an atom I don't know. The first one would be the atom. The second one would be the molecule. I'm getting my terms mixed up. The third one would be like when it creates uh, the whatever the next like level of complexity is in the system, and then as these systems become more complex, the every single ripple that passes by, like that comes next, contains all of the information from that layer of complexity that was added during the previous ripples. So I think that essentially, as time is passing, anything that happens in the universe anywhere that makes it more complex in any way is added to the total amount of information in the universe, and then that gets passed on to the next like ripple in time. And essentially, we're operating under conditions that will only ever get more complex and have only ever been simpler than they were. And because things grow as a natural path of biological structures, the evolution in said structures will also get more complex. And we have to deal with the fact that as an emergent property of complexity, there will become parts of these systems that we are no longer familiar with that will emerge over time. Like, and maybe our own self-awareness was an emergent property of a complex system in biology. Like, and then if you go back further, like before humans existed, right, then like the things would have been simpler. I think like maybe the reason why we didn't exist is because the levels of complex interactions in nature hadn't reached to a point where it could sustain biological life in the first place, right? Like everything that happened has happened over the course of the universe's history is about creating more complex systems, right? I think that that might be like the purpose of the existence of the universe is to create complexity. Like,
Yeah, First of all, I need to remind you with something here. Entropy is increasing with time. Entropy is increasing. There is nothing can stop entropy from increasing. And the fact that we have life in this universe is a weird thing. Is a weird thing because there shouldn't be life. There shouldn't be complex organisms, but there is. Okay, the fact that we exist, that means entropy has a kind has a limit of some sort. Okay, but when you throw this question to a physicist or to a biologist and tell them the emergence of life, okay, contradicts the second law of thermodynamic or entropy, okay, they will tell you no, it doesn't. Of course, it doesn't. That doesn't contradict. It doesn't contradict the second law of thermodynamic. Why? Because the universe is an open system. The Earth is a closed system. Okay, sorry. You know the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, uh,
you remember what that is off
gives
the top of your head?
yeah.
Right.
Gives yeah. The second law of thermodynamics. Okay, uh, is applied on the in the closed systems and in the open systems. Okay, now in our case, the universe is an open system. There's a free exchange of information and matter, okay, between the Earth and the rest of the universe. So it's open for emergence, and things can emerge. And the mere fact that we exist, humans exist, this brain, this complex brain is here. That means we can stop entropy. I don't want to say stop entropy. We can mediate entropy, okay, and let complex system and give complex systems enough time and space to emerge, okay, and form consciousness, for example, which is very complex, which is here,
Yeah.
okay. But there is something weird here. I need to connect this topic with synchronicity. Okay. The emergence of life happened within a chain of bizarre coincidences. Okay, right? It's an accident. All
Well,
biologists agree on that.
let
It's an
me put
accident.
that into perspective really quick. So, if we're talking about the entire universe as a system as a whole, right? That means that
Mm,
anywhere that there could be life, well, that essentially, like, if there was the beginnings of life and then it died or something, then it could start, the entire system could like place that same ripple, that because it already had the information inside of it from the previous system that collapsed,
mm.
it could then use that same information in another part of the system, right? Like, I'm not saying that it's doing it intentionally. I'm saying that if this system exists to become more complex as its purpose, then anything that had happened inside of it that increased its complexity could then be applied to any other part of it to increase the complexity there, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's very possible that like the universe is literally building on itself. Yeah,
The universe itself is a closed system, but inside it there is an open space and time. So and this gives this allows for the emergence of life and everything else. Do you know something about the Boltzmann brain? Did you hear about this?
the what?
Boltzmann brain.
Boltzmann brain?
Boltzmann brain. Yeah.
I have
This is
not.
very interesting idea. Okay. Okay. Let me give you a quick walkthrough. Okay. Here, the Boltzmann brain says that in infinite universe, infinite time and space. Imagine this: infinite time and space. Everything is possible. Statistically, from a statistic point of view, everything is possible. Why? Because the universe, um, by design, okay, has the quantum fluctuation, okay, and everything can comes from these quantum fluctuations. So if you have an infinite time and space, listen carefully, okay. If you have infinite time and space, okay, that means in some point, because everything can emerge, there maybe a brain could emerge. A Boltzmann brain can emerge, and inside this brain, even for a fraction of a second, it can emerge. If you have infinite time and space, it's a very interesting idea. I recommend you to read more about it. Okay, or to watch videos, educational videos about it.
I've seen a
Okay.
video where they talked about hydrogen atoms being able to like reform into the shape of a brain if they had enough time to do it, like
Yeah,
the
exactly,
entire working
exactly,
brain. Yeah, like
exactly.
just that, like
Yeah,
literally,
something like this.
if anything can happen, it will happen eventually
Exactly.
in an unlimited realm. But we don't have unlimited time. We have like until all of the black holes fucking like vaporized from the expansion of the universe, pulling on them too hard, like becoming stronger than their gravity, which is like what, like some 10 to the, you know, 50 to 100 zeros trillion years from now. Like, so,
Yeah, but in the according to this scenario, okay, after all this evaporates, you still have space and time, okay, and in some point, a quantum fluctuation can also make a new universe and explode again and repeat the same cycle. Okay, so this is the cyclic universe hypothesis or theory. Okay.
yeah,
And I think
there
I
might be
think that's a
some
problem. Hmm?
there might be some like higher limit to like how far space can stretch, and then when it gets there, it like recoils on itself like a rubber band that's pulled too far. I can see that.
Yeah, yeah. The time and space, the expansion of the universe is accelerating. That means it will keep accelerating until it hits infinity. Okay, but you still have time and space behind you, which is also maybe infinite. Okay, so in some point in time, the same cycle could repeat again and again and again and again, infinitely, which is scary, which is so scary. Okay, now for me, I don't believe this is true. I believe we miss something here. I believe we miss something here. Okay, I believe the physical models miss a very, very important point, which is intelligence inside the universe. Because if there is intelligent being, maybe us in the future, okay, if we hit a certain, let's say, a certain threshold, okay, we can control the universe. And maybe we will be intelligent enough to stop the process or to control the process. And somehow, intelligence has no bound. Okay,
I can see
so
this. I can see this happening. Yeah,
yeah,
learning how to fold
yeah, this
space or
so,
something. Yeah, like all kinds of stuff. Uh,
okay, so I believe there is inherent inherent uh, uh, deficiency in our physical models. Okay, because we don't, or we ignore, or we overlook
what do you
the
think?
rule of intelligence.
What do you Yeah.
Yeah.
think about the model of we have a soul inside of our bodies that gives our body its like life, and then when the body dies, the soul moves on, and these souls have been around since the beginning of time itself, and we were all inside of like the singularity before time started, and it's taken all this time for us to like grow physical bodies to be able to inhabit, and that's what the emergence of consciousness is
We
from,
the,
essentially.
the soul, yeah, the soul concept or the spirit concept. Okay, the religious concept.
Yeah, yeah, but
Okay,
in the sense where like there's light, you can if you have a complex enough system where like in anything is possible in an infinite universe, light molecules, photons themselves could bundle together and create consciousness inside of itself, right? Like we don't necessarily know how these things work, so
I think when people who think like this, they mistake consciousness with the soul or the spirit, or and they mistake it also with the self identity or the self.
yes.
Okay, these concepts are related somehow, but they are, I believe, different. Okay, the soul is is religious in nature. Okay, and they
Have
have their
you
own interpretations.
have you ever been so hungry you blacked out, and then when you came to, you were eating and you don't remember how you got to that point from being blacked out to having food? Like I've been there before, and that's I gotta tell you, super uncomfortable. And I think that like that's really what
What do you
makes
mean?
me that's what makes me like believe in the soul kind of is that like because when I had the food, when I had the thing I needed, I came back to consciousness, I came back to self-awareness, and I was able to eat and be there. But whatever I did during that time where I wasn't self-aware to get what I needed, I it was how can I say that was me, or like how do I, because I wasn't like self-conscious, I wasn't self-aware during that time, like
Yeah. For me, I attribute all these feelings to the brain. Okay, to the tricks that your brain plays on you. Okay, all these things, and I believe also the near death experiences can can uh, can come within this context. Okay, it's all just the brain plays tricks because in that moment, it's hard for us to imagine what's going on inside the brain during this weird moments. It's hard for us to imagine. There's a lot of hormones, a lot of neurotransmitters, okay, a lot of centers that compete inside your brain to get those neurotransmitters and all this all these all these activity inside the brain produce the feelings that you are describing now. It's not just that you lose consciousness or you are getting within altered state of consciousness or you lost your spirit or you lost no. It's just your brain plays tricks on you. You should be smarter than this. Don't let your brain play tricks on you. You
Well, I
control
mean,
your brain, not the
I,
opposite.
well, that's what I'm saying. The ability to control the brain. If we are the brain, and the brain is what gives us our
Yeah.
construct of mind, and that's what we're
Mm.
using to talk and have this conversation. And you just said we control our brain. Then what is actually doing the controlling of the brain, if not for a soul?
Yeah. Yeah. You control your brain using your consciousness and self-awareness and logical thinking. This is the only thing you have. Okay, you need to control yourself. And how
Okay,
you can do
so
this
if we take away soul
using
from the religious context, then we can say that
mm,
the conscious, the logic, and the self-awareness is
yeah.
the soul.
I believe that religious people, okay, when they mention the term spirit or soul, they are referring to the consciousness. Okay, this is the term they give to this thing because they don't understand what is this thing. Okay, what is you, Regulus? What is you? If we take everything in you, okay, if we take all your physical body, okay, what is left? This is the self within your consciousness. Okay, this is your identity. Your consciousness is how you see yourself. Forget all your physical appearance. Forget your skin color, your height, your weight. Forget all this. Okay, now who is you, Regular? You are what is left. Your consciousness, your identity. Okay, the way you see the world. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of things that play a role here, like your memory, for example. What happens if we take your memory? What happens?
Usually, you end up as
Ask
an
yourself.
empty void. Then if you took your memory, you'd forget
no,
all your learning
no,
other than muscle
no,
memory. Like,
no, 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 no. No, no. If you take your memory, it's not the void. It's not void. You still something. You still can think, and you still can see the world from your own, based on your
yeah,
senses and or
yes,
sensors. Okay,
yes,
but you still can see the world. Okay, and you can still feel something. You will forget your childhood, your memories, your girlfriends, your parents, your high school life, and you will forget all these things. Okay, but you can still yourself, regardless. Okay, I know it's hard to imagine.
yeah.
Okay, it's not. This is why I believe that people in the ancient people and the religious people to some extent they mistake consciousness with the spirit. Okay, in the end, we discuss consciousness. We believe consciousness exists. Some people believe it is an illusion. Daniel Dennett believe consciousness is illusion. Okay, many people
You
follow
know,
his step. Okay,
I think that if enough people like
mm.
just starved themselves long enough to where they blacked out, then they would understand consciousness as real. Because like, like I'm
Yeah,
just
I believe this practice is prevalent among monks and priests. Okay,
well,
okay, but I believe at the end of the day, this is not this is just the brain doing its trick to keep itself alive. Okay, or the brain is a program to search for let's say
a mate.
search for no, no, for patterns in nature. Okay, now when you black out your brain, what happens? Your brain's his function is to process information and to arrange information to form mental structures. Now, when you push your brain by starving, for example, like you mentioned, okay, now your brain will start to lose its energy. It needs at least 12 watt of energy to stay functional. Okay. Now, when you do this, when you starve your brain, okay, your brain will start to lose its ability to arrange information. Now, what happens when this happens? When such thing happens? Okay, the brain will start acting weirdly. Okay, the information will start will the sensor information will still come to the brain, but the brain can't process this information that comes from your eyes, from your ear, from your senses. Okay, now what's happened within all this chaos? Okay, the brain starts to play tricks. Okay, gives you weird hallucinations, let you go into voyages, in other dimensions. Okay, and yeah, the same thing happened when people, take the mushroom thing. I believe. Okay, the same thing happened. Okay, because these hallucinogenics, okay, these hallucinogenics affect the brain. They are designed to affect the brain. Why the mushroom has this
From
weird properties? Why?
From what's been
Because
described to
it
me, I would say that mushrooms are closer to a lack of sleep. I've had people tell me what it's like to go like 10 days without
exactly,
sleep, and then they're talking about seeing people that aren't
exactly,
there, like seeing different
exactly,
shapes and stuff. And like, if you have a bad trip on mushrooms, from my experience, it can be just as bad as that. Like, uh,
exactly. I
so
agree. I agree with this total. Okay, I don't believe people see real entities when they travel after taking the hallucinogenic
yeah, yeah,
substances.
it's a construct of the mind.
I don't
I've
think.
always believed that too, like the movie Inception, where they're like going into different levels of people's dreams and like time gets slower.
Yeah,
I've always thought about it like how inside of our mind, because we process information like at the speed of light or at some relative speed, like in order to be able to create the mental constructs that we do at the like speed that we do, it has to be some ridiculously fast speed that this is all happening at unconsciously. So
yeah.
if we go deeper
But
inside of our brains, then the like when we dream, for example, then we have so many different dreams throughout the night because we're processing
yeah,
so much information so quickly.
yeah. But here I need to say something here. Okay. Yeah, I know most of the reports and experiences of hallucinogenics, entities and weirdly shaped beings. I believe this is all just tricks. But okay, when you are exposed, when your brain is exposed, or when your brain enters such a state, I believe it can be easily controlled by something else. Okay, now I'm speaking about a system, about that there is maybe a system out there that uh, you know that that controls things. Okay, I don't want to say the mental realm. Okay, so maybe when these people get into such experiences, they become vulnerable or exposed to a certain level of control by something else, something more intelligent than them. Okay, and that thing provide them with the imagery that they are seeing.
That makes me
I
question
I
also.
yeah.
I was asked my manager at work about this earlier. Do you think it's possible that there's a unsaid mechanism inside of our species that causes us to follow those who have more capacity to understand or more information or like a higher, if you have a more complex level of consciousness, then those people with less complex levels of consciousness will be like follow you in a way?
I don't think this is true. I don't think this is true. We look 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 to the look to Instagram. Who's the most followed people on Instagram?
Like those women are that like are really popular are usually really smart. Like they've gone to business school, they know how to market themselves real well. Like
No, they don't.
they're not small
No, no,
fries
no.
usually.
The most followed people on Instagram are the footballers. Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi. They don't have wide consciousness. Okay, or something.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't play sports. I don't know.
Mm,
I don't even pay attention to sports. That's not even in my
yeah, and
realm of
yeah,
awareness. Like I
yeah,
don't care
yeah. So
about physical activity
yeah,
like that.
yeah. This is why I told you this is. You can refute this by evidence, and this is the evidence. Look to social media. Who is the most followed people on social media? They are actors, footballers, singers. These people, rappers. Okay, I don't think rappers have wide range of consciousness. Okay,
You'd be surprised actually. Like rappers, especially, are higher, way up there. Like they have to rhyme words together that are usually like extremely like not well or commonly used words, and they're all like, you have like just regular hood gangster rap, but they're not very popular. You're talking about like Snoop Dogg. He's written so many different songs with different unique melodies, with like lyrics that sound good and make sense, that are like, and he
Mhm.
markets himself really well. Like, these are people who have really great social relationships. They have great networking abilities. They have really good business sense. Like, if you think
Mm.
about it, in a sense, these are very complex organisms that are maybe more complex than the people that follow them.
I think it has to deal with luck and charisma
Oh,
more than consciousness.